My issue with Game is I don't know what happened with him, period.
But he felt so hurt. He really looked up to you.
How could you have an assessment on a person who's flip-flopped their entire career? He almost bipolar. If you watch it, like the way he does things. Like he'll do it like he's extremely emotional.
He cool and we good. It ain't no drama. I ain't gonna see 50 and whoop his, I said 40 years old.
Then it goes to extremely aggressive.
50's like asshole. 50 can't rap.
He went overseas and he had an issue with Memphis Bleak and Jay-Z on stage. He asked me about Piggy Bank, so he could say I don't have a problem with nobody.
50 had problems with like Nas, Fat Joe, and I think the Lox at that time. And I really wanted to hold down G, you know what I'm saying? But like these were guys that really influenced my, my life. So
now you're going to the extreme of saying that I'm not even down with G-Unit. I just gave you your record and you saying you don't have a problem with people who have a problem with me.
It was hard for me when I was on Flex saying that 50 like, yeah, Game's kicked out the group.
In all hip hop, a judge has ordered its sale to help cover a $7.1 million judgment owed to Priscilla Rainey. Rainey sued the Los Angeles rapper in 2015 with an allegation of sexual assault. It stemmed from the filming of a VH1 reality show called She's Got Game. Despite Game's denial of the allegations, he failed to show up to court for trial, and thus Rainey was awarded a default judgment. So yeah, I don't know like who advised the Game, telling him that he didn't have to show up for court, because realistically, if he had taken this to court, he could have probably settled for, I don't know, like $100,000, a couple $100,000, something like.
All right. So what would be your final take about being on the She Got Game show?
My final take on it, it was an experience. I set out to, do something to promote myself and do something to advance my career, because I own a mobile day spa called Lux Boutique, and I also have a clothing line called Wet by.
Welcome back to Fame Flux, where the truth behind fame gets exposed. 50 Cent just sensed opportunity in the Game's $7 million meltdown, and he didn't hesitate. He's been relentlessly mocking Game across social platforms, and it's been merciless. Now, the conversation has shifted dramatically. Forget Diddy for a second, because 50 has his sights locked fully on the Game's spiraling situation. The court recently hit Game with a major loss over serious DV allegations. As a result, he's now being forced to sell off his mansion to cover the financial judgment.
The next time you heard of me and 50 anything was having a shootout at Hot 97 in the snow. I had on Converse running in the snow. What? I must have slipped 80 times trying to get to the Escalade. We was busting real bullets. One of my homies got hit. He's still alive, and in jail. But yeah, man, like we was shooting, they was shooting. Shit was crazy. Me and 50 stared each other's in the eyes with guns drawn. Two niggas that was friends and homies, and they came up in hip hop together. And I don't even know who fired first shot. I just know we were shooting at each other. And at that moment, everything was in slow motion. It wasn't about nobody else that was there, even though I had 30 niggas with me and 50 had 30 niggas with him, man. It's almost a blessing that only one person got hit. But I know one thing for sure is that if 50 is going to be a power in hip hop at any moment from now, he got to be standing next to me.
50's laughter is echoing across the internet, and users are loving every minute. But here's where it gets darker. The nature of the accusations against Game are starting to mirror the same unsettling claims made against Diddy. That parallel has fans and industry observers asking some difficult questions. Is Game caught up in behavior just as wild? Is this a deeper pattern? Let's rewind. For those familiar with 50 and the Game's history, this rivalry runs deep. It's a vintage beef stretching back to the early 2000s, filled with betrayal and explosive fallout. From the start, 50 was instrumental in Game's rise, backing him as a member of G-Unit under Dr. Dre's guidance. But egos clashed quickly. Before long, it all exploded into real conflict.
And you seen that fucking picture, man. That shit is, somebody put my fucking head on a stripper's body, bro. Like, and I want to say it was 50, bro. But like, what? Like, get the fuck out of here. That shit looks crazy, bro. And I've had tattoos since I was like fucking 14.
Right.
But that body, whoever's body that was or is, has no tattoos. Like, that shit is crazy.
Shots were fired both musically and literally. their alliance disintegrated rapidly, leaving behind a storm of diss tracks, public feuds, legal threats, and bitter interviews. Game continued doing press, throwing constant shade and keeping the animosity alive, regardless of consequences or reconciliation. 50 Cent kept the pressure going with sharp memes and cutting remarks that had fans completely locked in. One of the most memorable moments? That infamous leaked phone call where Game called 50 a snitch. In response, 50 fired back, claiming the Game was nothing more than a male dancer who stumbled into rap. That recording set the internet ablaze and only added more fuel to a beef that's been burning for nearly 2 decades without ever cooling off. Now fast forward to today and the Game's mansion. It didn't just get listed, it was seized by the court, taken like a defaulted car loan, and 50 Cent is enjoying every second. You can practically feel the chill in 50's posts. Pure sarcasm, pure shade, pure precision.
What would be your final take about being on the She Got Game show?
My final take on it, it was an experience. I set out to, do something to promote myself and do something to advance my career, because I own a mobile day spa called Luxe Boutique, and I also have a clothing line called Wet by Rain, and I figured this would be a great opportunity for me. I was single at the moment, so I did it, but it turned out to honestly be a nightmare.
The show?
Yeah.
Why? A nightmare?
It was a nightmare.
That's a little strong, no?
No, it was a nightmare. It was a nightmare.
You want to care to elaborate on why you feel it was a nightmare?
Well, everybody knows that during the filming I was sexually assaulted. Everybody knows I'm in the midst of a lawsuit. Everyone attacks me, bashes my character.
But make no mistake, this isn't just casual trolling. This is part of a methodical approach. Over the years, 50 has turned public callouts into a brand strategy, making viral ridicule part of his business model. He's done this before, whether it was Ja Rule, Young Buck, or Wendy Williams. 50 built a reputation on airing out high-profile targets without hesitation. And now, the Game is just another high-profile case on his growing list. But the fire doesn't stop there. 50 has also turned up the heat on Diddy. Since the explosive allegations from Cassie, 50 has not let up. When CNN released that shocking hotel video, 50's social media became a relentless Diddy expose. He even captioned the clip with biting sarcasm. Your Honor, this theory of Cassie kicking Diddy, I'm not buying it. 50 Cent's campaign hasn't slowed down. He's been throwing shade like it's part of a daily workout regimen, using every opportunity to remind audiences of Diddy's ongoing legal battles. Even while Diddy remains in custody, facing serious charges, 50 keeps stoking the fire. But he's not just making jokes, he's reposting deep dive videos, pulling back the curtain on alleged cover-ups, and making comparisons to figures like Harvey Weinstein. Each post seems to drop a new breadcrumb, suggesting there's more evidence out there, maybe even unseen footage. That's got people wondering, what else is 50 holding on to? Because right now, he's moving with the precision of a street-level investigator, relentlessly pressing forward as if he won't rest until everything is exposed. And now that Diddy is entangled in the courts, 50's pivoted back to dragging another longtime rival, the Game. And honestly, it couldn't come at a worse time for him. The Game situation is unraveling fast, and 50's capitalizing on every piece of it. Here's the core of the issue. Back in 2016, the Game was hit with a massive lawsuit. A woman named Priscilla Rainey accused him of misconduct during the filming of his VH1 dating show, She's Got Game. According to court filings, she claimed he got her intoxicated, then touched her inappropriately on camera, with the production crew standing by without intervening. What made things worse? The Game never even showed up in court. Not once. That decision cost him dearly. The judge handed down a default judgment of $7.1 million. A staggering amount that's more than just a financial hit. It's money that could span generations. Since then, he's been avoiding that debt like it's a ticking time bomb. Fast forward to the present, and the judge clearly reached a breaking point. The court has officially approved the sale of the game's lavish Calabasas mansion, a sprawling estate complete with gated entry, a designer pool, and panoramic hilltop views. This property, once seen as a symbol of success, is now listed for $4 million. But even if it sells at full value, it won't cover the full amount owed. He's still coming up about $3 million short. Meanwhile, Priscilla Rainey has already begun to see results. She's collected nearly $400,000 so far through garnished music royalties. It's slow, but steady progress. And remember, this is the same woman that the game publicly swore would never see a dime. Now, not only is she getting paid, she's collecting under full legal authority, one payment at a time. But the situation didn't end there. Things took an even messier turn when the court discovered that the game tried to shield his mansion using a shell company called JTT Holdings. He may have thought the move would keep the property off limits, but the judge wasn't buying it. The court ruled the maneuver as fraudulent, blowing the strategy up in spectacular fashion. And just when it seemed the drama had peaked, enter Rick Ross. Yes, that Rick Ross, who's had long-standing tension with 50 Cent. Even he couldn't resist stepping into the chaos. Despite not aligning with 50 in the past, Ross couldn't pass up a chance to join the roast. It's gotten that deep. Rivals are setting aside old issues just to jump in and clown the game. Ross hit Instagram with a screenshot of the headline announcing the game might lose his mansion.
I started kicking it with Diddy, right? I ran around with Diddy for 2 years, and this Diddy, we never went to the studio one time, but he was like, yo, I fuck with your demo, that shit. You know, bad boy, but hey, Playboy, hey, here go a watch, Playboy, here go a chain, Playboy. I'm like, yo, we ever gonna rap? Like, nah.
I was doing it for 2 years.
Yo, but the jet leaves at 5. We going to Miami, Playboy. We going to, you know what I'm saying? We going to New York. We in ATL this weekend, Playboy, pop out. And I was going everywhere with Diddy. And then one day, me and Diddy was smoking. He was like, you know what I've been thinking? You belong with Dr. Dre. No, you don't say. But yeah, so Diddy told me that. And before I went to go fuck with Diddy, I went to go
But he didn't stop there. He stacked the post with gifs, including one of a man dancing in swim trunks like he was celebrating at a backyard pool party. The message, loud and clear. The internet saw it as pure comedy gold, classic pettiness, amplified to viral proportions. But the game wasn't about to let that slide without a response. Reports say he allegedly fired back at Rick Ross directly through a private message that exploded with intensity. In the DM, he reportedly wrote, "Even if I lost my house, which I didn't, you still gonna be a fat B. That Ozempic gonna kill you before the Twinkies do. 304 Ninja." It was a brutal message. He targeted Ross's weight, took jabs at his health, and layered the message with coded insults designed to provoke. But he didn't stop there. The game then jumped on Instagram stories and claimed Rick Ross had reported him to the platform. He wrote, "The officer got my account put in jail for a day. How y'all be fans of these weirdos?" That officer line was a direct dig at Ross's well-known past as a corrections officer. The subtle jab wasn't lost on fans, and it quickly made the rounds across social platforms. Still, the game's own decisions were also under heavy scrutiny. One viral comment summed it up clearly. He a dummy for not appearing in court, and she got judgment uncontested. Like, how do you lose $7 million because you couldn't be bothered to show up? That wasn't just a bad decision, it was a legal and financial disaster. Social media erupted. Critics didn't hold back. The consensus was clear. The game practically handed the case to Priscilla Rainey. He didn't show up to court, but stayed vocal online, then acted shocked when the law came for the money. The internet dragged him hard, calling it reckless and completely avoidable. But as with any major controversy, the darker corners of the internet emerged too. A few disturbing comments tried to shift blame onto the victim, a move many were quick to call out. Fortunately, others stepped in to refocus the conversation, reminding everyone what really happened and who deserved accountability in this situation. But the game wasn't going to let that kind of shade slide without responding. Reports claim he allegedly jumped into Rick Ross's DMs with a fiery message that quickly got attention. In the message, he wrote, "Even if I lost my house, which I didn't, you're still gonna be a fat bee. That Ozempic gonna kill you before the Twinkies do. 304 Ninja." The statement hit on multiple levels: his weight, health, and dignity, all in one harsh shot. But he didn't stop there. The game then took to his Instagram stories, accusing Ross of reporting his account, writing, "The officer got my account put in jail for a day. How are y'all fans of these weirdos?" That officer comment was a direct and intentional jab at Rick Ross's history as a corrections officer. Fans immediately caught the reference and knew exactly what he was implying. The timing, tone, and delivery left no doubt that the post was designed to stir attention. Social media, of course, erupted. But the backlash wasn't aimed only at Ross. Plenty of people turned their attention to the game's legal blunders. One viral comment read, "He a dummy for not appearing at the court date, and she got judgment uncontested. How do you lose $7 million just because you couldn't show up?" That wasn't just careless, it was downright reckless. The criticism was relentless. People questioned how the game could be so vocal on social media, yet silent when it mattered most. By skipping court entirely, he practically handed Priscilla Rainey the win without resistance. Many viewed it as one of the most costly mistakes of his career. But as with many online controversies, things took a darker turn. Some users began to twist the narrative and aimed their negativity toward the victim, attempting to shift focus and distort the facts. Fortunately, others pushed back, firmly reminding everyone that the real issue here was about accountability and justice. Bottom line, this situation isn't just a legal issue anymore. It's personal, it's public, and it's unraveling into a full-blown circus. One comment online went way too far, stating, "Maybe she didn't have respect for herself by how she dressed. Did she have on any drawers? She must have looked like a real 304, and he treated her how she presented herself." That single line sparked immediate backlash and ignited a fresh wave of controversy. The argument quickly shifted from just the court ruling to the environment of the reality show itself. Some users began questioning whether the atmosphere created by the show contributed to what occurred. Others, however, went further, crossing into full-blown victim-blaming territory, suggesting that the accuser's behavior or appearance somehow justified what allegedly happened. This led to a deeply divisive conversation online. While many were calling out the game and supporting the victim, others were twisting the facts, reframing the story to protect the artist and shift accountability elsewhere. The discourse grew toxic, with clear signs of misogyny emerging in threads and comments. And that's where the tone turned particularly dark. The deeper the public began to dig into the game's history, the more familiar certain patterns began to sound. A growing number of people started drawing comparisons between this case and the disturbing allegations surrounding Diddy. In both instances, women have come forward years after the fact, describing situations where they felt manipulated, violated, or intoxicated while in the presence of immense power, and all while those around them allegedly stood by in silence. That imbalance of power became a national conversation once again after the release of the Cassie Hotel surveillance video. It gave the public a real visual of what that dynamic can look like behind closed doors. In the game situation, no such video has surfaced, but the court documents are extensive, and many of the details described within them are extremely unsettling. Through the years, there have been subtle warnings, hints dropped in interviews, blogs, and online forums that the game's behavior made certain individuals feel uncomfortable or unsafe. Now that a legal judgment has been made, the internet is resurfacing those old stories and red flags, putting everything under the microscope once again. And here's the most ironic part. Both the game and Diddy are making the same argument. They claim this is a targeted smear campaign. But as more facts emerge, the public is being left to decide whether this is about conspiracy or consequences. This wasn't just a small misunderstanding. After nearly 2 years of legal back and forth, by 2017, the game ended up pleading no contest to serious charges. The result? 3 years probation, 120 hours of community service, and 26 mandatory anger management sessions. That temper of his has become a recurring issue, and that wasn't even the first time. Backtrack to 2007, and once again, he was in the headlines, this time over a weapons charge. Reports state that during another heated basketball game, he allegedly pulled out a firearm and threatened someone. Bringing a weapon to a pickup game isn't just aggressive, it's reckless on a whole new level. So while the game continues to act like he's misunderstood or unfairly targeted, the reality is his history is starting to look like a pattern. From legal trouble to social media chaos, every action is being magnified. The receipts, they're stacking higher by the day. And let's not forget, he also pleaded no contest to that felony weapons charge. The outcome, 60 days in jail, 150 hours of community service, and another 3-year probation sentence. That's no coincidence. What's clear now is a documented pattern of violent outbursts and courtroom consequences. It's no longer bad luck. It's a clear history of self-sabotage. And while all this plays out like a headline-fueled soap opera, guess who's sitting front row like it's the season finale of Power? None other than Curtis 50 Cent Jackson. He's in full-on I told you so mode, reposting the wildest memes, throwing shade like it's confetti, and keeping score like a seasoned executive producer. But this isn't just trolling for laughs. 50 has been calling this out for years, warning fans, warning the industry, and now watching the dominoes fall. The receipts are flying like clearance sales on Black Friday. The game's mansion is up on Zillow. Diddy's empire is unraveling one headline at a time. And 50? He's just calmly watching, popcorn in hand. Don't expect him to stop here. If history tells us anything, 50's already cutting the trailer for a new docuseries. There's probably a new EP in the works titled G-Checks and Lawsuits. One thing's for sure, he never lets a good marketing moment go to waste. Now, the real question is this: was 50 just being petty all these years, or was he simply ahead of the curve? Is the game just another rapper whose fame couldn't outrun his past? Or is he part of a much deeper industry reckoning, one where years of silence are finally cracking under the weight of the truth? Because with every new leak, every lawsuit, and every exposed detail, it's no longer about isolated incidents. The bigger picture is coming into focus, and hip-hop's so-called untouchables are no longer safe from the spotlight. So, what do you think? Is this the fall of icons, or just the first chapter of an even bigger storm? Drop your thoughts in the comment section. Smash that like button, hit subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss the next time the industry gets shaken up. This drama is just getting started. Catch you in the next one.